Hi, and welcome to Radio Out There. And this week, the Michael Newton Institute has put out a new book called Finding Purpose, and I have two wonderful guests joining me on the program with stories of the afterlife that inspire. I'm sure you're going to really get something. Well, hi, it's Barry Eaton here, and welcome once again to Radio Out There. I have two wonderful guests with me. Pete Smith, up there on the right-hand side of the screen. You all know Pete. He's been on our program many, many times. We talk about so many different things. And it's welcome to the very first time to Senela Covic. And Senela, you are in Spain at the moment, I believe, in Madrid. Have you been to the Prado lately?
Yes.
I love the Prado. So, we're going to be talking about a wonderful book published by the Michael Newton Institute, first publishing under a whole new business, Finding Purpose, Stories of the Afterlife that Inspire. That's a wonderful word, isn't it? Inspire. So now you are the chief editor, and also you are the MNI Publishing Advisory Council representative in Europe. So you really know what's going on. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Oh, Barry. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this beautiful meeting and the opportunity to present our book, the first book, to the world and to your audience. Well, I'm originally from a country that does not exist anymore, former Yugoslavia. I was born when it still existed. Now it is Bosnia and Herzegovina. And somehow my life, events in my life led me to seek what is bigger than myself, a bigger purpose or meaning in this life, because I always knew that this is not all we have. So this path, in short, led me to Michael's book, Journey of Souls, that literally was like the truth. This is it. I totally understand this. And this is what I want to do. I want to help people understand this too. And this is how my journey with the Michael Newton Institute starts.
That's wonderful. Now, you are one of the two editors of this book. So the role of editor, do you have a final say, or did you work together with Elizabeth?
We worked together, basically, very closely together. Mm-hmm. And we both brainstormed. We brought our ideas, how it should be, with the great help from Pete. He was really a pillar. That was glue that held us together, because this putting together the cases, looking for the cases, looking for the themes that would resonate, and to really give it a nice flow. It took us longer than we originally thought it would, but yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we'll talk about a couple of those cases as we go along. But Pete, as I said before, you and I have been on the air a lot together. And, well, here you are now as the former president of the Michael Newton Institute. Tell us a little bit. You're still a director, though, aren't you, on the board of directors? So, fine. Tell us a bit about the Institute so that people who may be watching for the first time or listening know a bit more about Michael Newton and the work of the Institute.
Well, Barry, it's based on Michael's original books, and some of our people may have heard of them, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls. Michael Newton developed an approach where he would take people beyond past life regression and into the afterlife, go to the end of a past life and keep going. Now, he found this work by accident, and he got so interested in it that over a space of 35 years, he did 7,000 cases of people going into that afterlife. He mapped the entire spiritual realm, and he proved to all of us that you don't need to actually pass away to get back to the spiritual realm. You can do it while you're still in body, because we're always entangled with the soul energy that we have that remains there. So this work is groundbreaking, and people like Senela and I have found it through our own paths over the years, and it's just continues to blow our mind, Barry, that we can access the afterlife while we're still in life. Of course, Michael got older and he passed in 2016 and left it to us to continue his work. But what we've done is we've reproduced his original body of work of 7,000 cases. We've redone that work tenfold. So we've now got about 70,000 cases that we draw this information from in order to share. Yeah.
Wow.
And we continue to share and inspire it with people. But there's something really powerful in this book. And we are not new to the publishing game. We've had 3 different books published through Llewellyn Publishing. But, and you and I have had lots of conversations about book publishing over the years, Barry. But there's something about being able to carve your own path, create your own publishing firm in order to get your message out there in an unfettered and unedited way by big corporate publishing. And this book itself is one of the initiatives that we've had that we're bringing to Michael Newton Institute about refreshing, renewing Michael's work, extending it, taking it further, while still honouring everything that he's done. M&I Publishing is now an entity that's going to publish more of these books straight out into the public as soon as we can get them.
Fantastic, fantastic. Pete, I must share something with both of you as we are in here, because I think Michael Newton's work has had such an absolute impact on so many millions of people around the world. I found some notes recently as I was putting together my latest book, and the notes about my book Afterlife, which is my very first book I published in 2011, and I found out my partner, who had passed over in 1997, had contacted me from the other side, told me long before I started even thinking about Afterlife that the book from Michael Newton had been sent to me, and that would inspire me to write a book about life after death. Now, I only found those notes only weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it had an amazing impact on me, because years and years later, I published the book, but it was Michael Newton who was the catalyst of that whole thing. And I wonder how many people around the world may have similar kind of stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a wonderful completion of that circle is that I had the great honour to send Michael a copy of your book, Afterlife, Barry, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he got a chance to read it before he passed. So, yeah, that was a nice connection back from your book to him as his book was to you.
I'm starting to be very emotional about that now. Wow, maybe if Michael might be here with us, who knows? But if he is, we welcome your wonderful spiritual energy, Michael. Now, let's talk a bit about the book itself now, Finding Purpose, because we talk about the afterlife and also LBL, life between lives. Now, let's look at the differentiation between those two terms, afterlife and life between lives, because I think that's very important for this book.
Okay. Senela, would you like to?
It's absolutely, life between lives is the place where we go after we die. We go to heal, to grow, to reunite with our loved ones, with our soul family, with guides. We receive wisdom and knowledge, and we understand, we reconnect with that purpose we came to the earth with, or another planet as well. This is another area chapter opening here. So the book is based on the stories from Life Between Lives sessions that have been that have brought closure, peace, healing to many. And our facilitators, Life Between Lives facilitators, are actually the contributors to this book.
Mm-hmm. So basically, the afterlife, as I've written about it, and we all understand it, is a place that we go to. But LBL is life between lives. So life doesn't end with so-called death, obviously. So LBL is sort of like an expansion of the afterlife. What would you agree with that, Pete?
I think, supporting what Senela said, absolutely. This is the workplace of us is the afterlife, which is fantastic. The Life Between Lives stories track somebody's personal journey in and out of that afterlife. So whilst the afterlife might be the landscape, the Life Between Lives session itself is something that allows us access to it so that we can experience it in all its fullness through the remembering of our eternal memory. So, yeah, they're deeply connected in terms of it. Afterlife, I think, is a more general term that anyone can use. But Life Between Lives is certainly Michael's approach on how to access it.
Yeah, that's right, because there's so much. A lot of people think that we all go to the same place. Here's your cloud, there's your harp, off you go. Because everybody has their own unique experience, don't they? And that's what LPL is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very deep and very personal journey, Barry, as you know, from the work that you've done over the years and even some with me along the way. But there's something about an awakening of our immortal identity that really sets this type of work aside from other aspects of the afterlife. I mean, you can go to a medium, and I know some really good ones, and you know some of those same ones as well, and they're great people. But nothing compares to a first-hand experience of entering your soul memory and finding what it's like in your true home. And whilst a lot of experiences through mediums and even spontaneous regression that people have, or flying dreams, or whatever else it might be, all of these are aspects of consciousness that are tapping on the door. But what Michael showed us was he showed us a dedicated path towards finding the answers to this one.
Mm-hmm. So now, what has your experience of Life Between Lives or the afterlife been? I mean, I've written books about it. Pete, of course, has an LBL practitioner and many other things, past life. What has your experience been, and how did you find it? How did you learn about it, and how did it affect you?
Well, I knew about this. I always had ability to feel beyond what was physical, normal, but I didn't know what it was since I was really young. And that intuition, sometimes that telepathy, would bring me to explore more. And the reason why I found Michael's book, or the book found me, was after losing a significant loved one in my life. And at some point, I just knew when they crossed over, because I felt that they came to say goodbye. I didn't know at the time. I had no idea. But with time, it made sense. And when I read Michael's book, I really understood what happened. Even though I never gave it much thought, I really wanted to explore more about mediumship, but somehow I understood that my mission here needs to be really in the body, on the earth, in order to do what I need to do. So that also came from my Life Between Life experience.
Fantastic.
The question I asked.
I love the way you said, the way the book found you. And I wonder how many people say the same thing. The book found me, because the book found me, even though my partner had told me years beforehand, it literally fell off a shelf at me. I mean, we hear people say that, but it literally did that. I was looking for something, and this book toppled out. Oh, what's that? Oh, after. What? Michael Newton? Who's Michael Newton? And I wonder how many people have had that it was, I won't say meant to be, but that was part of their journey, the journey of their soul.
Absolutely. And it sounds to me, it could be as a landmark we placed for ourselves as souls to remind us of who we are and to start a new chapter towards that mission.
Yeah, fine. Okay, let's have a look at the book itself now, the latest one. It's now available all around the world, is it? Finding Purpose?
It is. It's available there. Here we are.
For people on YouTube, Pete was just holding up a copy. For those people who are listening on radio, just go and Google it, all right? Okay, right. So let's have a look at some of the case studies here, because I like the way you broke it up into sections about how we learn. Things like learning or learning itself, growing through relationships, and lessons to learn, all various things like that. Now, one of the first cases that jumped out at me was Dolores in chapter 2. And she realized that Jack, her grandson in one life, is actually her father in this lifetime. And he was forced to come back into this lifetime so he could help her. And she described him as a rageaholic in this lifetime. So that continuity of life between souls, members of soul families or whatever, let's have a little talk about that. So what do you reckon, Pete?
Well, there's that old quote of Shakespeare's, "The whole world's a stage and we're just players in it, Barry."
Yeah.
And I feel that this incredible learning ground that we call Earth is like that. And we often see these trends that somebody will play a specific role for another soul and they'll hang out lifetime after lifetime. And, you know, that's if we're talking in linear time, of course, but we won't start on everything happening at once because that'll get too confusing. But if you look at that as long-term relationships between souls, and if you think about there's a lifetime and there's those other people in it, but if we're all eternal, then we come and we go from each other's lives across the lineage of our soul in ways that help us all learn together and to play specific roles for each other. For somebody who comes back with the role of being a rageaholic, as was described in the book, now that's actually a tough gig. Yeah, because it's very unnatural for souls to be in that type of vibrational energy.
So you have to volunteer for that then, really?
Yeah, yeah.
These, or be forced into it from the other side.
Yeah, these arrangements are made before we arrive. You know, the one thing that keeps souls going to play those roles for others is the fact that it's an act of love and that they're doing this. And I mean, for anyone who's had a difficult relationship in their life, I mean, I don't want to underplay the difficulty of that and how to deal with the energy of that in the best way that you can. But every moment of every day, your soul is learning and it knows what's going on in the big picture. The human part of us has trouble catching up sometimes, but that's part of the veil coming down when we arrive.
Yeah, fair enough. So now you would have been influential in putting that story in there, especially as it's chapter 2, so it's right at the front. What did you get out of that story of Dolores? Because that transition between lives and grandson one life, father the next. I mean, wow, that's a big difference, isn't it? What did you get out of it?
So the stories were selected under the theme of purpose, and we see finding purpose in many different areas of life, as it's pain, struggling, healing, relationships. So sometimes in relationships, we will choose to play certain roles beforehand, before coming here. But of course, in this body, we will totally forget it. So the reason why this is here is for people to understand it's not just roses when we understand spirituality and afterlife, things really change. But we still need to live in this body, in this reality. And this reality sometimes is not easy. So
sometimes.
For them to understand, really, okay, so this is all part of the cycle. And there's something for me to learn from this. What can I learn? And this brings the focus inside to the personal growth, as well as more empathy and compassion to others, because we understand them a little bit better. So it's finding purpose in that way as well.
So did you learn something from this yourself, this particular story?
I see this, I learned about every case, every session is a new learning for me, about me. I can apply it to many different areas of my life. And that's where I really understand. I try to understand and empathize with what they are going through, even though I'll not go and relive and feel their emotions as such, that I really can deeply understand and hold space for them. So the learning is continuous, not just one, but every story, every encounter with others, every movement we do as a person, there is a learning if we look for it, if we pay attention.
That's right. We have to look for it. We have to be open to it with our mind and our heart. Very important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Pete, this brings into the question here, though, of past lives, because Jack in one life, grandson, and in another life, father. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that every lifetime we're surrounded by people we've had our last life with or whatever. There is, well, every story is unique, as we said before, but the whole rotation of the roster, shall we say, that is not an accident, I would imagine. That has to be planned.
My take, and it's different for everybody, and the pre-life planning is an aspect of this work that we love to explore, Barry, because it brings so much context into why things are the way they are in our life. But for me, I mean, I'd offer the analogy that every lifetime we select is a blank canvas. And what we do is we decide what do we want to paint on that canvas this lifetime and what are the themes we want to pursue. And once we have that, we may then ask, well, who can help us to deliver those themes? Who can play those roles for me in this life?
Right.
And if you've got lots of soul buddies, you can make selections and say, hey, I've got a need for this. Can you come along and can you do this for me this lifetime? Okay, well, this will be our exchange for this lifetime. And that's different to what we did in another life. So let's play the other halves this time and let's, see what we can do to round out our learning, if you like, because we play all roles across the lineage of our souls. We're male, we're female, we die young, we die old, we die in battle, we die through illness. I mean, all of this is the rounding out of the human experience. We do fear, we do anger, we do love, we do greed, we do all of those things as well. Because as the universe becomes more self-aware through the individual shards of consciousness that we've become, everything evolves together. We move into more of a remembered state, if you like. Universe remembering who it really is through us.
That planning session you were talking about beforehand there, to me, as a former actor and whatever, radio, TV personality, it sounds like casting for a movie or a theatre show. Okay, who's available? Now, I've got a role here for so-and-so who was really nasty to me in a previous life. Oh, I remember you. You did dreadful things to me. Now, that is fine, but there must be other people helping out, because not everybody is available. It's like an actor who might be the perfect person for that role, but they might be in another role at the same time. So it's not just an easy sort of roster system here, is it? It's tremendous amount of pre-life planning.
Well, if I move a little into that fluidity I mentioned before, and that everything is unfolding at once, and that, linear time is a construct for human learning, and 3D space is what we see in the physical realm. But if you look at, string theory, multiverse theory, all of the quantum stuff that's coming out, it's saying that the fabric of reality is not really what we're dealing with here. I mean, this is what Michael discovered back in the 1960s, was that the fabric of reality was not the true life. And I remember him saying to me at one stage, life between lives, maybe we're in the between lives here, because that's the real place over there.
I think that I really like that. I really like that.
Yeah, but there's something about this roster that is about, I want to learn these things. Who can help me? There's incredible spiritual collaboration as we construct each of these lives. And it's all done under the power of love. It may look difficult here in human form, but, over there's, love is the currency. of the spiritual realm.
Mm.
And, you know, that's what draws us all together once we get home.
That's right. But in any production, there is always a producer who is having the final role in the casting. So Michael writes a lot about the wonderful Council of Elders that is on the other side. So how much have you found in your experience, Senela, about the Council of Elders being involved as far as our rotation of lives is concerned?
Well, I found them in a different ways, so to speak. The sessions are evolving, and we do not necessarily always find them, or they will appear just like that unless we look for them. And the souls that are incarnating now, and they started incarnating 20, 30, 40 years ago, carry a different vibration. And there's most possibility that they are here with another purpose for Earth, for healing, for humanity. So when we encounter and when we have the sessions where people go to the Council of Elders, so it's a very high vibrational frequency. They are very highly developed beings, if I can say that. It's an energy. They have wisdom beyond what our guides might have. They know much in a deeper way what is good for us. They will usually seem a little bit serious when they first arrive to meet the Council of Elders. But then they will either make a joke or say something that calms them and say, oh, it's not so bad. I did well. And they will usually share some points from their life. And this is a beautiful place also to ask questions that clients come with to the session, because the wisdom is on a different level, is on a much higher level.
Yeah, yeah. And the wonderful thing that Michael talks about in his books, and I was regressed after my last life and met with the Council of Elders, the fact that we are not judged. They are not there to say, guilty, off to hell with you. Well, there's no place like hell anyway. Oh, no such place as hell. But they are not judging us. We are looking back at our life, but they are there to help us. So have either of you had any experience or regression or thoughts or whatever about the Council of Elders from a personal point of view?
Well, if I could throw an interesting theory out there that for people to chew on, you know, we are all multidimensional beings. We already know that we are, when we do a life between lives session, we have our client in the chair. We move them through childhood, so they're young again. We move them through pre-birth, a past life persona, and then into their, you know, their soul presence. So already there, you've got about 4 or 5 different aspects of somebody. My take is that we're all multidimensional, and that the more advanced parts of us may reach back to help those of us who are still developing. So what is our connection with these guides, with these spiritual council? Are they more advanced versions of us? Now, that's the sort of stuff that I'd love to see researched, because, and we've got our research departments, maybe something that we'll look at some point. But there's something about the relationship with our guides. Oh, they've known me forever, or they're this, they're that. But my take with the council, and Senela's already said that we're not seeing the same structure that we used to. Some of them don't need their council as much as they needed to. They just find the answers there in the landscape of the spiritual realm without having to go to a higher authority. They just know when they get back there, and they tell us what those answers are. But my take is that our spiritual council are the evolved versions of us. It's a hypothesis that I would love to prove as time unfolds.
Yeah, well, what are your thoughts on that one, Senela?
Absolutely. I agree. You might be onto something here, Pete. Because more and more clients that go to the higher wisdom place, higher vibrational place in the LBL session, go directly sometimes to the source energy. And it's another level. It's something different. So, and they report, it's clear, it's profound, and they know already the answers. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this is all part of the theme of the book, isn't it? Finding purpose. And I wonder how many people in our lifetime around us now, whether we're their family, friends, or just people we may or might not even know, how many know their purpose? It's a question that we shall talk about probably for an hour and a half. But I think this is the wonderful thing about the book. Let's take another example here. So now, the story of Louis, who worked with an advanced soul group. He also connected with a lady called Gloria from a past life, who now, in this lifetime, became one of his guides. Now, that's the first time I've heard of that, that somebody from a past life that you had a life with is now a guide for you. Hey, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Absolutely. So this particular story is a really beautiful story, and I encourage everyone to get the book and read. There's so much to learn from these stories. Sometimes that's also what coming back to the planning and how we will be helped by our peers or more advanced souls in this journey called life on Earth or on other planets, is we will seek the help. They know that we are specifically working on a subject, love, to learn love, to give love, to understand love, unconditional love, and somehow bring it to the life. We will need at some point help, and this is when this comes at play. They come as a helper, not necessarily usually incarnating on a physical plane, but as a helper for the soul who is on the learning journey to become one. Training, guides and training, they usually will appear, and they will help through the process. They will help get there in a way.
Yeah, it's connecting with the guide is the hard thing for most people, but to be able to connect with somebody and find that you had a soul lineage with them, that must be a very special thing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. When we when we start belonging to the specific vibration that later on builds a soul group, as we call it, the soul family, some of the members will continue development and some will need a little bit more help. So in order to have everyone on the same level, they will either receive help, or some members that have advanced, they will move on to the next one, and they will probably need some help from higher vibrational members of that group.
Yeah, for those people who are not sure, there are many, many levels in the afterlife. It's not just one big place full of clouds and harps and angels. There are many, many different levels, and we access the levels and move on from one to the other as our soul evolves. That's a sort of a short take on the whole thing. But I love the story of Louis because with Gloria, now his guide, she has taught him things like love is the motivating factor. True oneness is the only moderating force, and love is all there is. Now, what a wonderful message that is, Pet. Love is all there is. Wow, if we could spread that around.
And that's echoed in some of the research that we've done, Barry, that we talked about when Pat O'Malley came on the show with us a few years ago, and we talked about the research and the spiritual consciousness view of the COVID phenomenon, if I can call it that. I'm not quite sure how to describe that these days, but there was something in there that we took 30-odd people into the afterlife, and the answers that came back to us were humanity needs to make a choice between love and fear. And it was validated through those 30-odd sessions that everything came back to love, and humanity needed to understand whether we wanted to embrace love or fear. I mean, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? But it's so powerful.
No.
So powerful.
Yeah. But that is where the elites, shall we call them, control people through fear by eliminating love in their life. Love for others, love for self, love for life itself, love for your country. And that is, there's so much of it around at the moment. So good old Louis for helping to spread that word there, and for Sarah, for Gloria, I should say, who put that out there. And good for you, Senela, for putting that story in the book. How important is love? Do you see it, Senela?
It's very important. And there are so many different aspects of love that sometimes we will learn only one, or not even one, in one lifetime. We live in a very controlled, fearful environment. This is global phenomenon. Globally, people are afraid. So love is something that will conquer fear, that will bring us closer to one another. And oneness, as we know it as a soul in the spirit world, is something that is unconditional love, that we are equal as we are. There is no difference between us. Even though we speak different languages, we come from different places.
Doesn't matter.
We are the same. We all have what we need, and we all have that beautiful component inside. The love and empathy.
Well, love is the binding source of binding force, I should say, of the universe, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I believe so too.
Very much. So let's have a look at another of the wonderful stories that you put in there. Brett, a high-density soul who does not normally incarnate on Earth. Now, Pete, you and I have gone through this in my book, Past Lives Unveiled, where I have another part of me that is out there somewhere in the space right now. No, it's not just in my head either. So let's talk a bit about that, about the fact that people who don't normally incarnate come back here, and he is on his planet called a wanderer, and he's come here to, I can't read my own writing here, to raise the vibration of the planet. Hey, how about that? I wonder how many people out there, if he wouldn't be the only one, there must be a lot of people, as in Brett's story, who are here to help raise our vibration. What do you think?
Well, I think there's billions that have come here specifically for that group purpose, Barry. So I've great hope for humanity on the back of stories like Brett's. But I think it's really interesting, and this is a trend that we're seeing in this work. And I'm so glad that Senela and Elizabeth put this one in, because this shows the potential of this work and echoes a trend that we're seeing, is that people with a lot of off-world experience or lineage, if you like, from other places are incarnating here to be part of these changing times in consciousness. And Brett articulated that beautifully in his session when he said, I don't normally come back here. I mean, it's just a one-liner, but to those of us who are experienced with the game, we say, he's a cosmic citizen. Let's explore this a little.
Yeah.
He goes on to describe himself, I think, in that story as being an empath as well.
Yeah,
and being able to read energy and all of that. This is a really common theme. A lot of people who are coming here who've got experience in other civilizations that are more energetically sensitive, more telepathic, can do things with energy and exist in lighter bodies. You know, a lot of those people from those civilizations are coming here in a way to change the fabric of humanity so that we can evolve more quickly into, you know, a more empathic type race. We've been desensitized for so long against war and famine and poverty and all these things. You see them on the news, and then you say, that's no good. But we've got to feel our hearts wrenched by what's happening in humanity at this time, the empaths are here to resensitize humanity because we've been desensitized for so long. So I love this story because Brett's one of these courageous souls who's come here to bring something different to humanity that we so need in these times. And that's to be more sensitive, to be more empathic, and to connect with each other.
Very true, very true. And to also give us a bit of a warning about what's going on. Now, they are the three stories that jumped out at me. So now, is there a story we haven't covered here that you really love, that you feel that there's something that must be mentioned right here and now? Is there something that jumps out at you?
Well, there are so many stories out there, and we still have a lot of in our archive ready for the second one that will be on another theme. So every story here is really special. I can speak about my experience and as well as experience putting them together. We really wanted to bring the balance into the book to get really even flow of the learnings of themes that we encounter on Earth in this reality as we learn and look for the purpose. So I would say if I would choose to observe your own story, to really observe how you, audience, the listeners, how your life has developed until now. What have you achieved so far? And look harder if you cannot find it, because there's so much that you have done already that is worth so much to others, and how much light and love you have brought to other people around you. And I wouldn't separate one as such. I would simply invite everyone to connect with that love within. And this is where everything starts and everything dissolves.
Yeah, that's lovely. Pete, you and I worked together on Past Lives Unveiled, my book. You were tremendous help there for me, took me on regressions, all sorts of things. How do you see the stories that are coming out in Finding Purpose? That's volume 1. How many more volumes, I don't know, because there are so many case studies, aren't there? What is your overall impression about where you are now with this book and what is being achieved?
I think people see a book on a shelf and they don't realise what's happened to get it there. I mean, you know this intricately, Barry. I know as well. Senela knows as well. But let me say that to bring this to fruition, we had to design our own publishing company that Senela now leads. We've got 26 authors that Senela and Elizabeth had to herd. They, in turn, had to herd their 26 clients that had the sessions as well. We had to get all the documentation around that to do everything by the book, no pun intended. So I think that this is a gift to human consciousness, books like this, same as Michael's original books were. Anything that brings hope and inspiration in these times is something that brings substance to a life. Everybody is here for a reason. Everybody chose to be here. Every moment of every day, your soul knows exactly what it's doing. So this book is an incredible testimony. And Elizabeth and Senela, I mean, it was months and months and months that they put into pulling this together in the most beautiful way in order to inspire people. So these are the stories of ordinary people. These are people who simply decided to have a session and they found true purpose in what they found. And often people don't have sort of, I haven't started my purpose. They've normally been building towards it, as Senela said before. People are already doing things in their lives and they take stock and they realise, well, I'm not that far off anyway, but now I've brought it into my line of sight, I can pick up speed. And that's what I love about this book. It's for our first book outside of big publishing, for our first book to be offered to the world, I just love it. I love this book.
That's fantastic. So now I'll leave the last word for you. This is number 1. You're in charge of M&I Publishing. What is the future? Do you want to do more of the same? Do you want to branch out into other books that the Institute and members cover, or what? What's the overall direction for you?
So, this is the first in a series of stories of the afterlife that inspire. We will have another one coming probably next year. I will not specifically say anything. We are still receiving case studies on the theme.
Yeah.
It will be also themed. As well, the research materials, they will be publishing our own research. This will be a whole different branch of the M&I Publishing, under the M&I Publishing, under the Michael Newton Institute, where we will publish our own research on different topics, different themes. And there's also a possibility, and this is a little bit for the future, to publish authors who are very close to our line of work and this beautiful vibration.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, is the book out and available all around the world, or
It
how do
is.
people get hold of it?
So it is available on, first of all, on Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark is a self-publishing company. They have global distribution, and then it's available on Amazon. It's available in ebook, on Kindle, and well, we're also planning to do the Audible at some point. So we have a global network. It's covered globally.
And Senela, you started the hard copy version as well as a gift one.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yes, absolutely, Pete. That's so important. There's hard copy as well available.
Oh, that's wonderful. So people can look up online, go to Amazon, go to all those places you mentioned. Is there a website as well?
There is a website. There is a link to our website, MNI, the Newton Institute.org. And on the website, we have MNI Publishing, a whole section, and also a way to order directly from Ingram Spark.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, the time has flown. I should sit here and talk to you two for the next hour and a half, but well, I haven't had dinner yet, so I don't have that. But it was absolute a joy speaking to both of you. I think it's a wonderful book, and I hope so many people read it, and not only read it, but find purpose from it. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, Barry. Good to see you.
Hi, Barry Eaton here, and welcome to Radio Out There. This week, a new book from the Michael Newton Institute, Finding Purpose, Stories of the Afterlife that Inspire. And thank you to both of my guests, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Radio Out There. Bye now.